Welcome to Education 101 with your host, Eric Wolfram. Education 101 is about the amazing education community we have in the greater Spokane area. We highlight the outstanding programs, teachers, supporters, and opportunities of the education community in the Spokane region. Education 101 is brought to you in part by STCU. Here's Eric.
Welcome to Education 101. I'm your host, Eric Wolfram. So today we're going to be talking about the opportunity gap, but a little bit of a different twist on it from the opportunity gap, but how we serve those students in more of a creative way. And with me to talk about that, we've got Brooke Matson, who's the Executive Director of SparkCentral. So Brooke, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. So let's start with the idea of SparkCentral and who you guys are, where you guys are, and so on. So tell us a little bit about SparkCentral.
You bet. So SparkCentral is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we really believe that everyone should have the opportunity to forge the future that they imagine.
Wonderful.
And part of the way we do that is by breaking down barriers to creativity so that people can forge the future they imagine. And those barriers we like to refer to as cost, confidence, and access, which I'll talk...
Confidence and access.
Yes,
wonderful.
Cost, confidence, and access, and I will talk more about those in
Excellent.
a bit. But the way we address those barriers to creativity is by offering transformative programs. Access to a creative space with technology and a creative community where people can belong. And we do that all at no cost, thanks to community support.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, thank you. We're really proud of it. And we have really passionate staff and great volunteers. We have a station. We call it our creative station because our name SparkCentral is based on kind of like Grand Central Station because we are located in the West Central neighborhood in the Kendall Yards business area.
Right.
And that used to be an old rail yard. So SparkCentral, the idea is you can go anywhere from here, whatever future you imagine for yourself. And so we have a creative station in Kendall Yards. It's 1214 West Summit Parkway.
Excellent.
We are open Tuesday through Saturday from 12 to 7 p.m. And we have programming that happens within those hours. We have programming that happens outside of those hours, both before and after we're open. We also take our programming out into the West Central community, into schools, and community organizations. So we're really trying to work more closely with the neighborhood. While we're open to everyone, some of our programs we specifically take to certain populations in the neighborhood.
They're within that neighborhood, which is kind of a cool deal. So down at the Kendall Yards area, SparkCentral. Tell me again what you call it. Your
creative station.
Creative station. Talk to me a little bit about that name and why you came up with that name.
So we called it a creative station because, our focus really is on igniting creativity and making sure people have access to the technology, the tools, the supplies, the space that they need to be creative. And so we often get people coming in going, what is this place? Because there's a giant zebra, there's computers, there's robots, there's these 2-block tours where you can engineer a fort. And so it's almost like this smorgasbord of creativity where people almost get like, wow, it's like Candyland for kids, which is what we want. We also have, it's a great workspace for adults to get creative and learn. So
that's an interesting piece too. We're not just talking about kids, but we're talking about adults and just anyone around that whole idea of creativity, right?
Yeah.
And trying to spark that, ignite that, and get them moving forward.
Right. So. And a lot of, we just had, we were very lucky in that we had this amazing visit from Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, and Big Magic, which is all about creativity. Yeah. And one of the things she said, one of her quotes from that Big Magic book is, and I'm going to paraphrase here because I can't remember the exact wording, but essentially that a creative life it's a richer life, a fuller life. It allows you to have the confidence to do more in your life and pursue the dreams that you have for yourself. And that's so important for kids to have that inspiration and the to be encouraged to pursue their dreams when they're young and they have all those imaginative possibilities for themselves. But then adults also need some of that inspiration where they may be, they may be close to retiring, but they're like, man, I've always loved poetry and I haven't written a poem since I was in high school. And we get some of those people and they're like, I wish I had done this sooner.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And, that's just really cool. Or they're learning coding now after,
Yeah.
That everyone should have access to that. So
it doesn't matter I don't think it matters the age. Once you see that excitement of learning and that light bulb click on, it's just an amazing thing. And I think, for most of the teachers, if not all of the teachers out there from the education side, that's what we're in it for. It's that little spark of going, oh, I wish this is great. This is great. Good. Talk to me a little bit about the opportunity gap. I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about, how we're serving. And right before we got on, I kind of mentioned the idea that I really like the way you think about the opportunity gap, because with the opportunity gap, from my point of view, it's the idea of how do we make sure that underserved populations are being served to close that gap. And the way you guys are doing that, or imagining it, I'll use your words, imagining it is truly through creativity. And I love that idea. So tell me about the opportunity gap you're seeing maybe in either West Central or Spokane as a whole, and then maybe, how you guys are hoping to close that gap.
Yeah, well, that's a big question, but I'll give it a go. Well, so my background is an educator. I taught high school for 8 years. So that's my personal background coming to this role. And so I worked 7 of those years at an alternative high school. And so I got to see a lot of the disparity in opportunity. The West Central neighborhood has traditionally not had a lot of resources allocated to it. And that is something that, we strive to help be in that gap. There's a lot of amazing organizations, amazing schools in the West Central neighborhood, and they're doing amazing work. And so we want to support that work and be part of it. One of the things that struck me when I was in education and that has transferred over to SparkCentral is cost is more of a barrier than we think it is. From everything from ASB cards to participation in sports, there's always a fee. And we had a lot of school trips we did at Mead Alternative High School, and we would always offer scholarship forms. And it was amazing to me how many of the kids and families turned down those scholarship forms because they did not see themselves, nor should they be required to see themselves as in need or low income, because there's, I think, a lot of shame for people attached to that. And who doesn't want to be in control of their own life and their own destiny? So, when SparkCentral first started, we played around with a lot of different ideas. And one of the things I'm really proud of that our programming for youth, our community events, our membership is all at no cost. Because rather than have people feel like, well, that would be a nice thing to do if I had the money, or having people have to opt into a scholarship option, we actually flip it. So when you register for our programming, there's always, the default is always at no cost. And then if you would like to donate on top of that to support our programming, you can register and do that at the same time. And that has worked really well because people then feel like, oh, okay, I'm always welcome. I'm always part of this community. But then if I want to go above and beyond and give, I can. And people have been really generous in that regard.
That's great.
And, there's a big difference, I think, between equal access and equitable access.
Yes.
And so sometimes we think we're being equal when we offer like, oh, you can just, go this extra 3 steps and then we could get you in there if you can't pay.
Right.
When really what the best thing is to say, you know what, everyone's welcome. And if you would like to support our work, which many people do, then you can. And so I brought it here, but one of my favorite graphics is it's an explanation of equity where you have some kids looking into a baseball field.
Over the fence?
Yeah, over the fence. And then so sometimes you can have boxes for the shorter kids to stand on so they can see over the fence. Or you could just get rid of that fence and have a chain link fence so everyone can see the game.
Right.
And that's kind of how I like to think about the work we're doing. Cost is a barrier we're trying to remove. Access is a barrier we're trying to remove by offering this creative station, by having robotics kits and things that I know my family would not have been able to afford when I was a kid, just available for use. And so they can come in and play with it, build something, learn how electricity works, build a circuit. And that barrier of you have to pay to play is
out the door.
Away. Yeah.
Is out the door. Absolutely. No, and I really like that. I really like that this is a great example, or your plan is a great example of that equitable piece versus just equal across the board. It's, that equitable piece that's that big piece that goes along with it. You talked about cost. You talked about access. Was there one more piece?
Confidence.
Confidence. Tell me a little bit about that, just briefly.
Yeah, so what I love about many of our youth programs, I think this is easier done with adults, but our youth programs are very imaginative in that we ask kids to imagine themselves in a certain role. For instance, with our after-school newspaper program, we have a newspaper that we print that's written by 5th graders. It comes out once a semester. And we do that as an after-school program. And we ask them to imagine that they're a journalist. We give them a press badge. They get a little notebook. They, are taking notes. They're interviewing people. They're taking photos. So we are asking them to put themselves in that situation. When we do our book publishing field trips, we ask them to be an author, and they, we write a book together, and then they finish the story themselves. They have an author bio on the back. So again, they're imagining themselves in a role. And we do the same with coding. They get to become a video game designer. Girls Rock Lab, they imagine themselves as a rock star. And what that does is it removes the people say like, oh, someday, if you like to draw, someone say, oh, you should be an artist. But what they have overlooked is that you're already an artist, and so often we tell kids, you could be this, you could be that, when we don't recognize they already have some of that happening,
Exactly.
And we kind of almost grow them out of it, if that makes sense,
Absolutely. Well, I think that confidence piece is so important. And then what you guys are doing with the access and the cost is wonderful as well. Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, let's talk about some of the programs you guys have coming up and, what people can expect along the way. So let's take a quick break, then we'll be back on Education 101.
They say it takes a community to raise a family. It also takes one to build a business. I came to Spokane 12 years ago as a Whitworth student, and I planned to leave after graduation. But the more I got to know this community, the more I wanted to become a part of it. My husband and I have built our business in Spokane, and now we're raising our family here too. We operate a consulting company that provides creative business development strategies. Our approach is holistic and dependent on intentional connections and relationships. And no one understands connections and relationships better than GSI. They direct momentum towards investments in our community, provide resources that help business leaders connect, and they're dedicated and passionate about making Spokane great. GSI gives me the confidence to build my business here because they believe every organization, even a small one like mine, adds big value to our community. With GSI's help, Spokane will be a place my son will want to build his career too. I'm Eva Marquette, owner of Freshview. We're creating something greater with Greater Spokane Incorporated.
Hi, this is Kurt Stockwell with Well Dressed Walrus. We are a local website design and development company here in Spokane. What we do is build beautiful, usable websites for local businesses. The website needs to be beautiful, It needs to be usable for your users, your customers, and yourself. Contact us anytime. We'd love to talk with you about your online marketing.
What? You haven't been to the library lately? Stop in today and see that the library is more than books. Spokane County Library District facilities feature on-site technology, including Wi-Fi, computers, and printers, as well as free use of meeting rooms. The Library District offers events and programs for all ages, from story times to career development and employer classes to Social Security workshops. Our staff is well trained and happy to help. Find out more about your library at scld.org.
Welcome back to Education 101. We're talking about using creativity to really eliminate the opportunity gap. Again, here with Brooke Mattson from SparkCentral. So before we took a break, we were talking about the idea of some of the youth programs that you guys have, because we were really looking at those three pieces that you guys kind of focus, or those three barriers that you guys really work on: cost, access, and then that confidence. And that's where you got into the youth programs. And if the people out there haven't had the opportunity to go and check out SparkCentral, I really hope they do. My wife and I were headed to Wandering Table on Friday night, and so we wandered right by SparkCentral after parking, and I mean, I had to really slow down because the amount of activity and energy inside that creative space, like you say, or creative station, is amazing. So let's talk about some of the youth programs that you guys have coming up, and some of the great things that are happening that those kids and adults and the people from the neighborhood were hanging out and they're doing.
Well, we are every month our program calendar changes. So, we have such a wide array of programming. So some really cool ones coming up. Sparkoween is sort of our Halloween celebration for youth. And it's very much a family-friendly event. So bring the whole family.
What are you doing at that one?
So that's Saturday, October 27th from 4 to 7. And we have a variety of stations set up that each has a creative activity. And as you complete each activity, whether it's building a circuit or typing a haunted tale on our spooky typewriter, you get a piece of candy. Nice. So you kind of trick or treat your way around different creative activities. October 8th, our Level Up Creativity after school program will kick up again. And that is something we piloted this summer. It is a drop-in after school program from 3:30 to 5:30. And that's Tuesday through Friday. And we work with Whitworth University volunteers to have all kinds of, so there's a different creative activity every day. You come and you learn something, and then each student has a little character that they get to move up on the game board. And then collectively, everyone who participates in the program, when everyone earns enough points together, they get a pizza party, and everyone is invited. So that is a really, it's a great way to build community among the youth and to show that, it's not always about how far you get, but how far we get collectively.
As a community. I like that idea.
Yeah.
That's great. I bet that also ties right into that confidence thing, when you're working and you've got people around you as well.
We've had some kids in that program this summer. They learned a skill, and they kept at it. Like they got really into, like we have squishy circuits where you use Play-Doh as a conductor to build different complex circuits. And once the kids figure it out, they're like, come back and want to do it again, like build new things or expand on what they're doing. So another cool one we have coming up is Poetry is for Everyone. That's for the younger kids, grades 2 to 4. And then, and that is November 3rd from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's going to be led by Ellen Welker. She's a poet and has great experience with kids. So we'll be doing some fun wordsmithing and poetry play in that. Another great one for primarily for adults, but really we've had all ages come, is our silent writing party, which is as introverted as it sounds.
Yes.
We have a live guitarist, Michael Milham will be there, and it is a very much enforced silence. So you come in, we have coffee and tea, and then people just hunker down and start writing while the guitar is playing. And then, sometimes we have prompts there. It's National Novel Writing Month in November.
Oh, very nice.
So it kicks off Thursday, November 1st from 7 to 9. So it's just a nice evening of coziness and writing.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I like it. So, but I think all of those that you shared really talk about the breadth of different activities that you have. Whatever the interests are, it's not just STEM type things. It's not just the literacy stuff. It's really across the board.
Yeah.
And I think that's to be commended, to be able to be thinking through what truly are the interests of the community as a whole and how do we get people in there. So that's pretty cool. Really quick, at the beginning, you kind of talked a little bit about some of the things that are in there. And as you were talking about these, I was thinking, I wonder if we can use our imagination, if you can paint us a little picture of what it's like inside there. Because I've been in there, I think, a couple times, but I don't know if anybody out there or if there's some people who haven't been there. So, and we're talking about all these, we're talking about access, right? And all these things. But, as you kind of walk through, can we imagine, help us kind of paint a picture. A picture.
Yeah, sure. Like a little tour.
Absolutely.
So when you first come in, to your left is a bookshelf with all kinds of local authors and graphic novelists, topped by our giant zebra Howard.
Yes, absolutely.
Usually has some sort of adornment for the season. And then ahead of you is comfy chairs. There's a stage, which that stage we use for programming. It also doubles as a presentation stage if we're doing like a reading or a performance. During the day, that is our kids' play area, and there is books. There's building toys, there's gears where you can build all kinds of connectable things and kind of tinker toys. And then to your right, there is a bank of computers that has, everything from virtual reality and Steam that you can. We only run the virtual reality on Saturdays because people start bumping and they have to be supervised or they'll knock someone over. So we've got computers with all kinds of programming. The Adobe Creative Cloud Suite is available for free.
Oh wow!
Then we have that whole wall is computers for the community to use.
It is.
We've got a great series of paintings. I think you saw those.
I did get to see those.
The history of the Spokane River Gorge by local artist Kay O'Rourke. And so our space is donated by the Greenstone Foundation, which we are so lucky that they give us that space to use. And they, as long as we are in the space, those paintings are there for us to enjoy. So
how wonderful is that?
And then we have a maker station where we have all kinds of robotics, art supplies, so anything you're going to build or kind of design, that's the area you want to use. We've got a help desk where you can get help from one of our trusty volunteers or check out tech to use or books. And then we have a little reading area where you can sit down and cozy up with a book or your laptop or one of our laptops, whatever you need.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, all the space that you have and everything that you have in there is really cool. And you said that number one, you get help from Whitworth students. Is that correct?
Gonzaga students too.
And Gonzaga students. And then do you have community volunteers also?
Yes, we very much need volunteers. So many of almost all of our programming, all of our station open hours are staffed with volunteers.
Okay.
Our staff team runs the programs and supervises, but we really need people just checking out stuff, working with community members, helping run the programs, even administrative and design needs, whatever people's talents are, we can definitely use them.
Yeah.
So.
You talked about a few of your sponsors, or you talked about the space is donated, and then you talked about, and I'm going to give props to people who come in and donate when they come in and sign up as well.
Yeah.
But who are your other big sponsors that really make this happen for the community?
Yeah, for sure. So we have, so as I said, Greenstone donates our building space, which is awesome. Spokane Teachers Credit Union is the sponsor of our Maker Station. Global Credit Union has sponsored our Girls Rock Lab program.
Great.
Inspirus Credit Union has offered support for our neighborhood outreach programming. We've received grants from the Smith Barbieri Progressive Fund for our neighborhood programming, as well as from Hagen Foundation, which has an educational focus.
Absolutely.
They've both been really amazing support this year. Also, the Washington Women's Foundation.
Okay.
We were the second organization in Washington State ever to get a grant from them, and it's a 3-year grant that is going to help us grow our programming by growing our staff. And so
that's great.
Yeah, so that is something that I'm really excited about. We have really, really talented people working for us, and I want them to be able to continue the great work they're doing. And as teachers know, programs do not run themselves. You need
they don't.
People planning and executing them and keeping them high quality. So.
Absolutely. You know, if anybody out there is interested in volunteer opportunities, this is a great thing. You know, you guys have a great program down there. So again, let's talk about, just real quick, where are you? And how might somebody contact you? So maybe an email or website, or so where are you guys again in Kennedy
So we
Arts?
are on Summit Parkway.
Okay.
So the main street, 1214 West Summit Parkway.
Okay.
Very close to the Inlander Building. That's a kind of a landmark. Or close to Brain Freeze if you like ice cream.
See, there we go.
And you can find all of our program offerings and everything about us at SparkCentral.org.
Okay.
So
.org.
Yeah. So Spark is in spark plug, hyphen as in
dash.
And then Central is in GrandCentralStation.org.
.org. Great.
Yeah. And if they want to have a question, info at SparkCentral.org.
Okay.
SparkCentral.org.
Tuesday to Saturday. What are your
12
times?
to 7.
12 to 7. Perfect. Brooke, thank you for being here.
Yeah,
and thank you
you
guys, everybody, your volunteers, your staff, for putting forth this